Hello and welcome to the Virtual Railroaders Academy and Railroaders Play Railroads Online. I'm your host Casey,
And I'm your co-host Nick.
and we got a lot going on in the yard tonight. Switch. We're gonna be
And
talking
you,
about train movements, and what a fitting thing to do as I'm running around trying to get switches so I don't derail.
and you may be thinking to yourself, yes, trains do move. I knew this. And I'm glad that you knew this. But we're going to be looking more specifically at the structure of trains moving across a railroad.
Yes. There's a lot of structure there. It's not just all willy-nilly. Hey, you go here, you go there. There's a lot more to it than that. There's various flavors of rulebook. What the hell is a timetable? Um, all of that good stuff. You may have heard things like general orders, bulletin orders. So we're going to be going over a little bit about what all of that is. If you do want to see our rulebook, if you type !tree into the chat, it will take you to our link tree where you can find a PDF for the rulebook and timetable for the AM and W. And if you
I'm
stick
think-
around tonight, we will be teasing our first big guest on the show for a guest lecture on Friday the 6th. So be sure to stick around to find out more info about that.
You know that this person's important because we're changing our timetable. Changing our timetable from Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern to one show this coming Friday, May the 6th at 7:30. So that's how you know they're important.
Well, as I am trying to get power moved around here, 40 can start getting moved over to the ready tracks as soon as 92 clears up there. And we're working inside what's known as yard limits right now. And yard limits are a special area on the railroad where anything can move without needing to be a train. And you may be wondering, well, that's a train, right? No, trains have a very specific definition in the railroad. It's a locomotive or locomotives with or without cars that have a marker. And a marker are the red lights or flags on the rear. So, inside yard limits, any piece of equipment can move without needing to be a train. You just need to get authority of whoever's in charge of the yard to move. So, we have a lot going on in here inside our yard limits. Lots of engines moving around. 2 trains just about ready to head out, and a little bit of switching that needs to be done as well. So busy, busy times, and get a little bit of flavor of how all of that navigates. Hey, Rick, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good.
We're already setting records tonight because we've got a total of 7 crew members here on the Ahsokan, Mohonk, and Western.
Oh yeah, it's a big group. You know, everyone, even our fellow crew members, want to find out who this special guest is at the end of the night.
Yes. Maybe they already know. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do and they forgot.
I've already
The
forgotten.
possibilities are endless. Don't worry. I'll remind you later that it's Tom Cruise. Oh,
Damn it.
Damn it!
yeah. Little known fact. He taking a break from the Top Gun 2 publicity tour, joining us here on our lovely little show, our lovely little Wednesday distraction, as it were.
92, you're gonna need to head over into the spawn yard to pick up your cordwood cars before you tie on to the train on 3.
I got those cardboard cars. Where does 40 need to go to again?
40 can go onto one of the ready tracks.
Got it.
This is busy yard. A little bit of a busier flavor than you'd see on a normal operating session here. Usually we have one yard crew working, and they will take care of switching out cars and getting trains made up and getting engines ready. And train crews will just come in, grab their engine that's ready, hop on, and go. So this is a little bit of a special case tonight.
We like coming in with a strong, lively, action-themed intro.
And this is
Placing
an
you right in the middle of the action.
action-packed night.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you've chosen a good night to spend with us. And we appreciate you tuning in to Railroaders Play Railroads Online and encourage you to join us in the chat on Twitch. Leave your feedback, your comments. We love having you as part of the conversation on today's lesson plan.
One-man break crew. Rick, once you're spawned in, I'll have you go out with Squiggy and Pilot on train 400.
Yeah, sounds good. I haven't
Head
seen
out on
most of
the...
the route yet, so.
Yeah, you'll get out on the longest turn, so you can see most of it. Most of the main line, at least.
Cool. I did have the visual on yesterday, and I was watching the caboose launches.
Yes, you caught us having a goofy night.
Yeah.
Goofy Night. Coming soon to a stream near you. But not yet. We're perfecting our goofiness.
Yes, we will get goofier, eventually.
But we want to make sure that for the time being that we establish some sense of legitimacy and realism, and then we can do fourth wall breaking at that point in time. So yes, if you're in the chat, feel free to say hello, introduce yourself, tell us your name, your favorite color, what your opinions are on the state of Wisconsin.
As in, like, the state or the state of Wisconsin?
I was going for just the general state, not the state of the state. Like, what you think of it, you know, in ordinary circumstances, shall we say.
Yes. Not sure who's there as a brakeman, but the switch I'm crossing over now, we gotta shove back up it and into some beam cars.
I'll run over. Oh, I see which ones you're grabbing. Yep. So yes, who ordinarily is in charge of a yard, Casey?
Yardmaster would usually be in charge of the yard. They'll be the one controlling all of the moves that are happening, but they're getting further instruction from other people. So the yardmaster's getting train assignments from the dispatcher and letting the dispatcher know where those cars are going to be found for the train crew to mark up.
You've cleared the switch, by the way.
Clear the switch.
And you're set for the beams.
Set for beams.
Good 20. And who's this train master that I hear about from time to time as a role?
Depends on the railroad. Train masters can be dispatchery in what they do. Typically, they are in charge of managing the train crews, training of non-locomotive crews.
So do they get involved on the yard side of things at all, or are those kind of two different spheres?
Kind of two different spheres, at least in where I've worked in short line railroading. Don't know about class 2, class 3, or short lining is class 3. Short line railroading is its own weird kind of ballpark. Everyone wears many hats. So I had a train master who was also the dispatcher. But he was also the guy coming up to you when it was your turn to go for a random drug test. He was the guy coming up to you when it was time for your annual rules class, being like, "Hey, it's time for your class." So it's very, very dependent on the short line. I can't really speak to how the bigger railroads operate.
10 cars.
10 cars.
Even in my own experience in working in conjunction with railroads as part of my streamliner media hat of things, I've seen a variety of different roles and hands-on levels when it comes to the responsibilities of train masters. I mean, yard masters, I feel, tend to be pretty consistent, but even there, I suppose there could be some range. 5.
5.
3.
3. Boy, these are heavy.
2.
2.
1. Half. Truck. And good, hitch pin is in, and do you need me to release the handbrakes on these?
Yes, please.
Okie doke.
And just waiting for 92 to shove up onto their train there. We can start creeping up in the meantime.
And I suppose just in the name of making sure everything's explained out, Class 1, this isn't specific to directly to what we'll be discussing today, but when people talk classes, Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, what does that mean as far as railroads are concerned?
It all depends on how much money you make and how many cars you move a year. So I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but it's like UP, CP, CN, CSX, Norfolk Southern, BNSF. They're your Class 1 railroads. They move a ton of freight, a ton of carloads a year. Enough to be considered kind of like I don't want to say leaders because they're not the leaders. They don't make all the rules. But they're like your Class 1s. Your Class 2s would be like Reading and Northern, Kansas City Southern, which I guess now isn't a railroad anymore. Pan Am, which also isn't a railroad anymore. I'm really striking out here on Class 2s.
Iowa Interstate.
Iowa Interstate,
Florida
yes.
East Coast.
Yep. And then Class 3s would be things like your local short line. So like any of the Genesee and Wyoming railroads.
Genesee?
Genesee? I don't know how to pronounce it. I've never actually heard it pronounced. So,
I mean, for a long time I read it as Genesee, but then I think I spent enough time in the short time to be here in Genesee. King Brenda, thank you for joining us. It's not exclamation mark link, it's exclamation mark tree. We'll get you the link tree to social medias, the Twitch, the etc.
yes.
You're clear of the arrival, which is FYI.
Okay, yeah, we gotta go all the way out and shove into the departure. Can you just see if we'll clear into that Class 70? Because we gotta go down departure 2. And I think we'll be able to squeak right by him.
Very good, King Brenda. Glad that you could join us. And your opinion of Wisconsin was A, which is not a bad opinion to have.
No, never. Wisconsin's not bad. Wisconsin
Nice
Southern,
short.
another former Class 2.
I was gonna just mention them. Yeah, very sharp paint scheme as well. That's a very Fulmer thing to say, but I'll say it. They have a nice paint scheme.
Well,
Partially because it's red, and that's a favorite color.
you do have that new show that Rudy keeps pitching to you. What makes this paint scheme great?
Yeah, all in good time. All the things that are great in this world. I gotta some. I was just looking at photos of Torch Lake today and thinking about how I need to do what makes this steam locomotive great. You are clear of the switches.
Okay, I'm attempting to stop. This is heavy.
Just
and this is good because I've come right up to the yard limit, which is the defining characteristic of what a yard is. And the yard limit's usually about as long as the longest train you'll be switching from the furthest switch out. So anywhere past that point, I need permission from the dispatcher or authority to move on the main line. Anything on this side of the stone wall, and since there aren't signs in the game yet, we're using stone walls as yard limits. Anything over here, don't need permission, don't even need to be a train, don't need markers to move. Anything beyond there, I need markers, I need authority from the dispatcher to move.
Now, let's create a hypothetical here. This track right next to you, now let's, in the way that it's been constructed by your rule book, that is also part of the main, although it's kind of a secondary main that doesn't get used as much. But pretending that we classified that as a drill track, is it possible to have yard limits that would only apply to the main, but that drill track is still technically within yard limits? Or do they both have to be like in or out? Is it more of a like
situational
real estate boundary?
It's a situational thing. What's up, pilot?
Train 400 requesting permission to depart.
You do not have permission to depart. I am about to shove a train up next to you onto departure 1.
Alright.
I hope to God you're clear of that switch.
Let me go talk to my yard crew for a second.
Suck it in, boys. It's gonna be a squeeze. So it's entirely situational. Usually drill tracks, usually the main next to a drill track is classified as a yard limit, purely because you then have the theoretical ability to use the main as a drill track. What happens if your drill track is out of service? It has a broken rail. You can't use it, but you still need to drill out the yard.
Interesting. And vocab word for your notebooks, students, drill track, the idea being what you're seeing us do right now. It's head-end route that one needs to be able to pull cars out of a yard and then place them elsewhere. The track.
Pilot's whistling for us.
We're not gonna be able to push back. We only have a 2 feet clearance at the end.
Okay. And we don't clear that switch up there?
It's gonna be really close if we're not trading paint.
And knock my brake on. I want to come back and look. May want to tie a handbrake onto this, Nick.
I've got the rear one.
Okay. And we really should be talking about yard design at some point, because this is, case in point, not a well laid out yard.
More topics for the show.
With having to work around the engine shed?
Working around the engine shed, oh yeah, we ain't fitting past there. Okay, we'll just, alright, here's what we'll do. We'll pull ahead, Nick. 400, you guys will depart out on main number 2, crossing over at Woods.
We'll depart on main 2, cross over at Woods. One's cleared.
You'll have to get your own switches at Woods for the main line, then normaled.
Okay. We'll I'll let them know.
Handbrake's released.
Yeah, handbrake's knocked off. This is quite a heavy train. I'm having a hard time pulling.
Why have a Heisler, although, as we know, you would be better off with a Climax.
No, we're not getting into that tonight.
Right, okay, fair.
Not tonight.
Just saying. So, yes, but it's kind of fitting in a way that we're spending today starting with a good amount of yard action, because I think from a fan perspective, the mainline operations are often the ones that get the most glamour, the most excitement. But honestly, the yard is where it all begins. It's where it all ends. So
Yeah.
I often overlook, partially too because from a fan perspective, a lot of yards are off limits unless you've got a convenient highway overpass. You can't really see much of what's going on inside them. But really, I think the most glamorous is typically the hump yard, but I would say even the flat yards have a lot of interesting things going on.
I like flat switching more than hump yard switching because you can do cool things. And maybe next week we'll do a mini-sode on switching. Because that's a whole topic in and of itself that doesn't necessarily merit, I don't think I'm crazy, so I would watch someone put together trains for 3 hours, but I can't think of many people who would. So maybe a mini-sode and switching out Hill Valley Yard next week would be cool before bringing our big guest in. But
that said, give us your feedback, those of you watching along tonight, if that's something that you would like a full 2 or 3 hours dedicated to. We are more than happy to provide that.
You got
type
that
of
switch, Nick?
lesson. Yes, they're
Okay.
clear out. Because the more I find myself in this hobby, the more I find myself digging into the minutia of minutia.
Hopefully they saw that message.
Hopefully they did.
Yeah, this part of yard switching ends up being that you wind up waiting for the mainline trains to pass through. Yes, they did.
Excellent. Unless you're on some short line where your yard switcher is also your mainline train.
This is true. And then you're doing multiple things.
Which is my fun. I'm a short line kind of guy.
I like short line railroading. I think short line railroading is where it's at right now in the world.
Mm-hmm. Whether it be from from a fan perspective of having some of the cooler, older forms of motive power, like your second generation EMDs, your Alcos, or more of the cultural perspective of you get to meet particularly friendly crews. It's easier to get knowledge about. It's easier to learn schedules, so you can predict train movements and have good chases with good photographic and videographic results. And just a good environment to work in as well. Friendly crews make for happy faces and happy people.
Oh,
And it's so interesting to see the ones that are kind of evolved out of what used to be larger. I grew up in a town called Meadville, which is a former Erie Railroad, Erie-Lackawanna mainline town. So my hometown railroad was the Western New York and Pennsylvania. And they run Alcos, which is super cool. but there's so many reminders. It's single track now, but there's so many reminders that it used to be a double track, 60-mile-per-hour main line with elevated curves and super elevated curves, double track bridges that one side's used. Very atmospheric.
Oh, I'm sorry I've gone silent. I am dispatching the railroad right now over text because everyone else is in the switching channel, as to not clog up streaming, since we're talking about a lot of things.
That's why I'm talking about the
Bills.
greatness of my childhood. So feel free to come back in and take us back on course. But if you guys like Alcos, I have plenty of stories of Alcos. I have a cat named Alco. He's sitting on my my shelf right next to us. And also, kind of segueing it back into what we're doing here, the WNYP runs, I don't know if they're NORAC or timetable train order, but they are definitely not signal territory. So dispatching is done through some manual form of some type, which is great from the standpoint of keeping the old ways alive. But it does mean you have to know what you're doing if you're going to chase them, for the sake of you don't have a lot of radio chatter to be able to pick them up even if you have a scanner. I think a lot of short lines don't run with... I feel like short lines that run with any type of signaling or CTC are probably more the exception than the norm.
I find that's the case. Most short lines that I know of are what's considered dark railroading, and that just means that they're running without signals or CTC. They're dispatching everything off of Form Ds or train orders, and Form D is a track clearance warrant. It's a piece of paper that gives you permission to move over a block of track, and a block of track is from a defined location to a defined location. So if you look at our map by typing !map, or pulling it up from our link tree, I could write a Form D for train 400 giving them permission from Hill Valley to Woods, and then they'd need another Form D from Woods to somewhere else on the railroad, and so on. That's how Form Ds work. I could give them a Form D from Hill Valley to the coal mine. Totally valid. But Form Ds are used to space trains out, so that way no two trains can be in the same block at the same time. Whereas timetable and train order, which we'll be getting into later, you can have two trains in the same block at the same time, as long as they are spaced apart by a defined amount of time. Let me know as soon as that switch is thrown, Nick. We'll kick these cars into departure 1.
Okay. Which is lined and locked for the main.
Alright, here we come back. You got your handbrake kicked off back there?
Yes.
Okay.
And...
Oh, gotta kick the engine brake off.
And we are lined for departure 1.
Now on my railroad, trains need to be 2 minutes apart from each other. So as long as we're within 2 minutes of train 400, if following them, that's kosher. We're allowed to do that. We could be in the same block of track. We could both be sharing that giant space between the coal mine and Creek Tank. And that's a long block of track, but we could both be in that space, occupying it as long as we're 2 minutes apart. And the only way I know when they're not 2 minutes apart is if they're Rule 99 permitted. And that just simply means they're dropping well, they're not in-game, they're letting us know if they're running late or not moving fast enough, or they're dropping off a guy. But in the real world, you'd light like a road flare, railroaders call them fusees, and drop them on the side of the track, and that's how you know that the other train in front of you is behind their schedule. I'm gonna set a timer on my
Firework.
phone. Gonna run a timer to make sure that when we leave with 300, we're not within 2 minutes of them. Train orders.
Don't you mean 200 because we're 400 because we're 300?
That's what I said, isn't it? No?
You said that we're not within 2 minutes of 300.
Oh, yeah, no, we're not within 2 minutes of 400.
That'll be cool when they figure out how to get fusees in the game.
I know a guy I can bug about that.
Hmm.
Alright, Pinfold, you've been picked.
Alrighty. We're still rolling.
Alright, and we could put our not our road engine, our yard engine away.
Our road engine is which?
31 I think is the number. Sitting over on 4.
Okay.
Should be all fired up and ready to go.
I'm hearing fire. I'm seeing fire, yep.
Oh, that's good. I hear fire.
I would say I'm feeling it. But sadly, we have not crossed that threshold of technology just
Yet.
quite yet.
Soon. TM.
Mm-hmm.
As the saying goes.
But we hope that wherever you're watching us from, you are staying nice and warm, where it is naturally warm where you're at. It was a windy day here in Virginia, so.
I know, like a nice spring day here in Northeast. A little bit of a chill, but you could go with a t-shirt and some pants.
Not too bad then.
No, not at all. It's very nice.
Good. Okay.
I'm gonna get some switches for us.
I'm tempted to. Oh, that was very close. I guess we just made it. Just.
Is it pinned on all the way on the other end? Or you didn't get that far?
No, I didn't have any handbrakes set.
Oh, okay. Oh, hey, you made it up to the pipe cars at the other end, too.
Yay.
Cool.
But now I'm gonna get it set. Wherever I need. I've got the.
Yeah, no, there's no, whatchamacallits, links in there. Well, that sounds like a problem for the road crew. Alright, so we got our markers on our caboose. Checking our handbrakes. Unless you already did that.
I did not, but I'll check the one up here.
Alright, you want to run today or you want me to run?
I'll give it a run.
Alright. So 300, we do have permission to depart. Cold in Alaska. Whoa. We have an Alaskan.
Okay. That is cool.
I've never actually, I don't think I've ever talked to anybody from Alaska before. It's not a state you usually meet people from down here in the lower 48. Very cool.
I was in Alaska in 2013. Very lovely state. Very big.
It is
Just as a lower 48 person, it's hard to imagine going for as long as you go, whether you're walking, driving, taking the train, flying a bush plane, and seeing nothing but nature. Just hour after hour, no towns, nothing. Boggled my mind. It was super
that's a little
cool.
freaky.
Yeah, so I had the fortune of riding the Alaska Railroad from Anchorage up into Denali National Park. And great trip. Highly recommend. Can't recommend it enough. But it is just, again, down here, you ride Amtrak, you expect to see a town within at least an hour. And you go several hours without seeing signs of civilization. It is amazing how big it is.
Wow.
How expensive it is. Got to see Mount Denali, which also kind of boggles the mind to look at this big mountain in the distance and go, that is 20,000 feet. So, yes. This portion of Railroaders Play Railroads Online is brought to you by the Alaska Tourism Bureau, aka me. So, but yes, King Brenda, you have a wonderful state up there, except for, I imagine, the cold and the shorter days. Although the longer days are pretty cool. Going to bed at, going to bed at 10 p.m. and still seeing sunlight out was definitely odd as well.
That would freak me out. Well, now we are a train. We're train 300, which is our authority to leave the yard. We run on what's the timetable and train order. So the timetable is what governs the railroad, and the dispatcher simply says yay or nay for if the track's clear for a train to depart. But we don't need any paperwork to depart. We have a piece of paper. It's our job board here. On traditional timetable and train order, it would be a real table with all of the trains listed out and what times they're scheduled to depart. And as we've crossed over a bunch of switches, I've done something called normaling them, and it's lining them for the main line, or the normal route. So the main line here on the AMW curves around past the freight depot. So I line the switch, that way the main line can go past the freight depot, because I don't know what the next train is as the conductor, as the engineer. It could be an extra train that's going down that way. I don't know. So OB set it for the normal route. And now we're on the main line, the infamous restore it and run it on location. Which the main line's a terrible description. It's not this one almighty piece of track. A branch line, you have the main, you have your sidings. So it's less, the main line's less descriptive than rail fans tend to think of it. Coming up on the left, we're going to be passing the Woods branch. Now, it's a branch, sure, because it's branching off of the main line. It's branching off the main route of the railroad, or of our point-to-point railroad. But if we're switching the Woods branch, and we need to leave cars on the Y heading up towards the logging camp, we're going to say, alright, we're going to leave them on the main. Plus, it's not a siding, it's the main track that we're using on that branch. So it's just the word the main gets thrown around a lot. I think it tends to get lost as to what it actually is.
A lot of people, I think a lot of us think of a main and we automatically think of some well-manicured Class 1 double track line between two cities where that's capable of handling 50-mile-an-hour freights, something like that. But for a class 3, their main line might handle 10-mile-an-hour movements.
Mm-hmm. And you look at something like the Reading and Northern. They have their main line. It's, this nice manicured 45-mile-an-hour railroad. But then they also have tracks branching off of it that go to different industries or different towns, different branch lines with their own point-to-point operations. But that's still the proverbial main line because it's the main line for that section of railroad. And railroads are broken out into sections, usually called divisions. So each division has its own main line, and it becomes a less descriptive word the more you dive into what types of tracks exist on the railroad.
And boy, does the Reading and Northern have a lot of branches associated with it.
Oh god, I think they have more than me. And I have a lot of branches.
Well, because, the Reading Railroad itself had crazy amounts of coal branches here, there, and everywhere, and the RNN running on a lot of ex-Reading territory. But even there, they run on ex-Lehigh Valley territory, they run on ex-Ellen and Lehigh in New England,
Fancy. They've taken the Reading main line and split it. So where the Reading main line would continue to its ultimate terminus before it just fanned out into multiple coal branches, they've actually said, no, that's not our main line. We don't go that way. That's now a branch line. So the main line can change.
Queen Brenda asks, why don't you have a double track towards the southern industries?
I didn't want one. I was trying to stay true to short line railroading. When I was building all of this, I wanted it to feel... I wanted passing sidings. I wanted to kind of force trains to hold at locations and for it to operate very railroady. And the narrow gauge didn't have a double track to begin with. The fact that there's a double track section there is only there because we had a busy time a couple months ago where we had a lot of trains coming out of the logging branch. So we double track that. And that's not to say double tracking's wrong. If it works for the way you run your railroad, 100% do it. But it's not how I wanted to run my railroad. And I think this is more ubiquitous of railroad operations. There's not a lot of double track in America.
Even on class 1s, you get out west and there's a ton of single track territory. BNSF.
Even northeast, there's a ton of single track. My home state, New York Central Main Line's mostly single track. With passing sidings. I think they're just getting in double track sections in places for Amtrak. CSX main drag from New York City, main line from New York City up to Albany and the Berkshires is single track with passing sidings. And it has been since the New York Central days. I think it was only double tracked in the commuter region. Which is where you do see most of your multi-tracking is in the commuter region. Because you're moving a ton of people.
And from yes, if you add more track, you do. I was reading an article about BNSF, and they've been making huge infrastructure changes to their transcontinental main line between Los Angeles and Chicago. They are just a massive gateway of intermodal container traffic and other things, but a lot of intermodal. So yes, you've got double and even in some places triple, which is great from a railroading standpoint of getting tons of trains moved really quickly, both in terms of not having them stop and also having them flying along at 70 miles an hour. But operationally, I won't say there aren't challenges to it, but if you're dispatching that, think of it as a model railroad, and you're dispatching that as a session, well, mainly it's like driving your car on a 2-lane road. There's the right lane and there's the left lane.
Yeah.
There's less interaction that one gets through double track than single track.
Yeah. I think part of the fun of running op sessions in this game and model railroading is that the meat interactions. Because otherwise, it just feels like you're running in a circle, and you could run in a circle anywhere. So I like that you're running into other trains, you're having to do more complicated things. Works great with large groups of people, where you are meeting stuff, where if you're running as a small group, you're not really running into people as often, so there's kind of the trade-off there.
I will say, as a small, and this is something that I preach on one of my various creative entities. What I preach specifically on what makes this layout great. Also available on YouTube. Check your local listings, or search for it by searching Nick Ozarek. But the thing with that show is that when you're building a layout, you do want to be mindful of how many people you envision running with. Because if you live in an area with a lot of other model railroaders, then it's probably safe to say that, yeah, you'll get hooked into the group, and then you can build a following, build a crew base, and run sessions with 6 to 8 people. But if you live in an area that has less modelers, say Alaska, I don't know how many model railroaders are in Alaska, but
Watch Alaska has like the largest division of the NMRA out there.
Maybe it does. But simply to say that if you're in an area that doesn't, then you might want to think about building your layout to keep you satisfied, whether satisfaction means building some sort of small short line where you don't mind being the only train on the railroad, or building a double track or triple track Penzi extravaganza so that you could have 2 tracks set up with DCC where stuff's just running in circles, and then there you are on the 3rd track, and you can have your own fun, but you're not feeling like the only train out there.
Absolutely.
That is definitely an important consideration.
Things to consider when, and that's a consideration to take when doing your railroads online setup. If you have double track mainline, I guess theoretically you can set a passenger train, a cursed passenger train with cabooses as passenger cars, but a passenger train nonetheless, to run around the railroad while you're doing your industries. And you have to get out of the way of the passenger train.
King Brenda is asking, how many trains do you usually run on the iron ore mine route? What I'm attempting to do right now is get many people on our Discord server, so I'm building double track for most of the industries.
I run, depending on the night, depending on what the needs of my other industries are, because I run the whole railroad off of a spreadsheet that is, and I have macros that fill in the spreadsheet based on what industries need what supplies. So that's what determines all of my trains. I run maybe 2 an op session in like a 3-4 hour span. So it's ultimately very small. It's like I said, I built around a very short line railroading feel, and at most we have 8 people playing at a time. So it's kind of hard to run more to one location than that without getting bored of going to a location. We like to kind of diversify where we're going, so that way we're not doing the same industry back to back. You come in off your job, you hop on whatever train's next to go out.
I'd also make the case that, yeah, there could be the temptation to get the money quick, to be able to buy new rolling stock, but also I would argue, King Brenda, that maybe you should go with single track, because then you're getting that kind of interaction. I don't know, speaking for myself, I don't know that I'd have as much fun doing double track in an environment like this. The single track is what just looks and feels right. Do I need to stop?
I forgot to run ahead to go get a helper ready.
Oh, okay.
So I am running ahead to go get a switch and get a helper ready.
Those are both good things to get.
Yeah, usually.
And while we are in this transition period, now is a great time to remind you that if you haven't already followed us on Twitch, we encourage you to do so. You could just press the purple button with the purple heart, and then you are made aware of whenever we're going live, which again is ordinarily Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, except for next week, May 6th. We will be going live. That's a Friday at 7:30. So we know that you probably have some fun plans for Friday evenings, and that's why ordinarily we do Wednesdays. But we've got some fun plans that you won't want to miss out on, including a very special guest that we will be revealing later in the stream. So, twitch.tv/Virtual Railroader Academy, or, of course, in the link tree. King Brenda reports, yeah, I love that vibe. I'm going to have some more single lines going forward. Lol, I'm Biffs with Pilot.
Oh, right
Lol.
on.
Pilot is part of our crew, FYI.
For those of you who aren't Biffs with Pilot.
Yes, if you aren't Biffs. Everybody needs a Biff.
Alright, so Nick, you want to just hole up shy of the engine house track?
And do.
My cat just forced his way into my lap and sunk down so far. Oh, here's an engine.
Mine is disappointed that where he would usually set up shop on my desk is occupied by plates.
Oh, someone's clogging up the main line. Other train's gonna be holding us up.
Oh dear. More fun with yards. Speaking of which, welcome to Plateau Yard.
Are you entering the plateau yard limit?
That would be correct.
These doors gonna open? No, I'm just gonna get run over. Oh, I'm crushed.
So I'm noticing some minor changes since I was last here.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did you see Schmeltopolis?
Yes, I'm admiring Schmeltopolis of the Schmelter Schmelting Company. But I am also noting a small, is that a rip track off to my left before the engine house track?
That would be the handcart receiving track. So we have a place to crash handcarts into. As designed by Rudy Lowry.
Mr. Over-Engineer himself.
Yes.
Nice. Fun. I like the big balloon stack on Schmeltopolis, though.
Yeah, it's the only one on the railroad. Well, aside from the Eurekas, but you know.
Right. Of a choice.
Yes. You think the other crew's getting freaked out that we're here yet? No one's popped back in to say anything.
No. Maybe they're shy from joining the conversation, the verbal conversation.
Alright, I'm coming back to you.
I am stopped. I am readying drawbar.
And you hear a lot of whistles going on. Squiggy, we know. You hear a lot of whistling going on, so we're using whistle signals to communicate. So back up, forwards, and... Or wait, too long is forward on this railroad. Too short is, yes, I hear you. And means stopped.
One car.
One car.
Half.
Truck. Truck.
And good hitch, and the pin is in.
Far enough. Alright, how about we creep this thing on up to the water tower and see what's going on the north end of the yard. And... Oh, you know what? My amazing render distance allows me to see that, the other, helper's backing down onto its train.
Excellent. So, do you have a timetable for this wonderful railroad that you can bring up for our viewers to see?
Not easily
An example of
accessible. Well, they can access an example a lot easier than I can. Through our link tree, there is a link to our timetable on there.
And that way you can see an example of a timetable and how it may meet or differ from your expectations of what a timetable looks like. I think if you're a beginner to train operations, you're probably thinking of a timetable like a passenger timetable, where it shows you when trains arrive and depart at specific passenger stations along the route.
I gotta ping one of them. Who's on that train?
Well, we know Squiggy is.
Yeah, I gotta ping Squiggy.
So, you might expect it to be passenger, and it can be, but a timetable, as you will see from the example, one could actually have a lot of freight, or be entirely freight, and is sort of the rubric by which a railroad operates around.
Squiggy, if you're stream sniping to see where we are, hop over to voice chat.
And while you are discussing with him, I am going to go AFK for a moment, but I will be back.
Oh, a busy day on the railroad. Oh, yard limits can get kind of crowded. Hey, Squiggy.
Hello.
Don't forget your car of rails.
Okay.
And are you guys ready to depart, or do you want us to get out ahead of you?
I guess since we need to yoink the car rails, we'll need some time.
Oh, well, I do need to wait for Nick to get back, because I can't manage 2 engines.
Okay.
So I'll pull up next to you guys for a nice little photo op, and we'll watch your switching.
Yep. Alright, I'll let him know.
Alright, cool. Thanks, Boogie.
Yep.
Bunch of short whistles in succession like that means I'm gonna run you. Don't die. Move out of the way. Up. Just killed someone. We killed a guy. They're dead. Falling up here at the water tower. Just shy of the bridge. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. I'm gonna run ahead and get some switches. Make their life a little bit easier. And we are here up at Plateau Station. Unfortunately, the passenger train is not running tonight, though it does call at Plateau Station. And there's, if you look in the timetable, there's two what would be considered traditional timetables. One of them is passenger train timetable 98 and 99, and that's simply saying what time that train's passing how long it should take for that train to get to certain locations. Because, there's no clock in the game, so we can't run off a clock. A traditional timetable would be very clock-based. Lots of double heading going on here tonight, which is also going to be next Friday's topic, is double heading with our guest lecturer. So be sure to tune in for that. That'll be a fun one. I've yet to do a lot of real-life double heading. Not an opportunity at my railroad, so we're going to be learning more about that next week. I'm very excited for it, and I hope you guys are too. But the timetable's a list of locations on the railroad. It's mileposts of all the stations, mileposts of all the roads, of the bridges, mileposts of where the yards are located, and then there's what's called the general, it's what's called your special instructions, and those are the rules that apply to that portion of the railroad. And each division would have its own timetable. So like the Pennsylvania Railroad's Northeast Corridor, or like New York to Philly would have its own timetable. Philly to Washington, D.C. would have its own timetable, and so on. So that's how all of that stuff breaks out. So the timetable is nothing like a passenger timetable. It's not a public list of trains, what times they pass certain stations. Though there is that table inside a timetable. And the timetable modifies your rulebook. It takes the broad strokes of the rulebook and narrows it down to fit the specific scenario that railroad needs for that division of the railroad. So you can look at ours, see how it's broken out. Again, we're all railroaders, so most of those rules are pretty familiar. If you're reading that and have any questions about something you're seeing in it, let us know. Happy to answer a question on it. I love rulebooks. I love writing rulebooks. I love reading rulebooks. They're great fun, at least for me. But I'm crazy. And our rulebook's based off of timetable and train order, and standard code really, which is timetable and train order. It's the oldest form of moving trains. The timetable is what gives the train authority to move, and the train order is a piece of paper if the schedule meets to schedule extra trains, not schedule extra trains, give extra trains permission to move, and so forth. So that's how the train order is used in that. And we'll have a whole episode in timetable and train order and dispatching at some other point. Hopefully once this line update comes out we can do that. But that's one of the bigger ones we're holding out for. Really need to get through a lot of stuff before we can get into that. It's a lot of information in there to just dive into. I want to say very basics at first, which is why we're talking about just train movements. How do trains move over the railroad? Permissions, authorities, and so forth. I'm not on their train crew, so technically I shouldn't be getting their switch, but I'm the dispatcher for the railroad. So I can.
A little bit of CTC action.
Yes. Alright, just give them 400 permission to depart, and then we'll follow them. Well, we're not going to follow them. We are going to let them get out ahead of us, and then we'll head up our own branch. And, well, they're not going up a branch. They're technically continuing up what's considered the main line. Because the main line terminates at Asokan, one of the named stations on our railroad. The namesake of the Asokan, Mohawk, and Western.
So, because they're going up a different way, is the 2-minute rule still in effect since there's a little bit of overlap between those two lines?
No, because as soon as they're clear of that switch, we're no longer following them. So as soon as the switch is thrown for our route, we're not following them anymore, and we can go. Because it's 2 minutes, and you're allowed to close up at what's considered at a station. As long as, you can then pass that location if you can ascertain that train is clear. Well, once they clear that switch, we've just seen them clear, so we can ascertain that they are out of our way, so we can go. If we were within 2 minutes of them, and we were coming into Plateau Yard, we'd have to be crawling through here until we get to that switch and then see that they're no longer there. And then we can highball.
Makes sense to me.
The timetable and train order stuff gets kind of funky in how all of that spaces out. But once you get it, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot more sense than NORAC or G4, which are the two common rulebooks now. And those are both based on track warrant authority, so like a Form D. So, like I was saying, the timetable and the standard code really is what timetable and train order is. Standard code puts the power of moving trains in the hands of the train crews. Because you're relying on the train crews to look at their watch and know, okay, train 400 was supposed to clear Plateau Yard at this time. The way we do it in the game, because there's no in-game clock, is, okay, Plateau Yard is, 12 minutes away?
Thereabouts.
Plateau Yard is 10 minutes away, more or less, from Hill Valley. So we set our stopwatch, and if we've gotten to Plateau Yard in under 10 minutes, and they're not there, we know they're ahead of us. If we've gotten to Plateau Yard in under 10 minutes and we see them, then we know that they're behind on their schedule. So we're working with it based off a stopwatch, not a clock time, which is where it gets a little bit hazy. And if you want to kick my brake off, Nick, and start creeping forward with just the one engine, I'll hoop up at the coal mine switch.
Sure do.
Okay, I've never seen a train depart up towards the coal mine from the ground, passing the station and up the roller coaster grade, and it's pretty cool. Oh, that was really cool. I'm foaming a little bit here, but just don't tell anyone.
Don't worry. It's a complete secret.
Just you, me, and our viewers watching at home.
one of whom is from Alaska.
Who may or may not tell pilot.
Yeah, occupational hazard.
So G-Core and so like the track warning system, like I was saying earlier, is you give permission in blocks, and that puts the power of the railroad in the hands of the dispatcher and not the train crews. I like to trust the train crews to know that they're going to get to their locations on time, and I think it's more fun because otherwise, there's almost no consequences because okay, this says we can only go as far as here, so then you sit and wait until the dispatcher tells you you can go further. Timetable and train order, you can get a lot closer than you can with G-Core, or with the form with a track warning system. So NORAC, G-Core, either of those.
There's places where TTC can be fun. I mean, obviously, modeling something that uses TTC in real life, you're going to use TTC. I mean, you're not going to run the whole past one day at time-based training. So that would be fascinating to watch, but you're probably not going to do it. But it so much depends on context. I think you still want you want a lot of train movements. You have radio chatter as much as possible.
Yeah.
It has to be the right. I mean, and I think some of it too is in model railroading, having signals that actually work that you look at, kind of a novelty. Train sim environments, it can be. I mean, Run 8 comes to mind in that regard.
Yes. Signals are cool. Setting up signaling is
Semaphores
cool.
are really cool.
Semaphores are really cool, which may or may not be coming to the game now, which is cool, and I'm excited for. Imagine having a home signal set up for Hill Valley. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Train order boards.
Oh god, I can't wait for train order boards, and those are train order, but they're not a signal. It's not like it's CTC. It's not powered off of it's not powered off of block stuff and electricity through the rails. It's your station agent got a telegram from the dispatcher, and it's a train order, so they copy it down and they set it up and they put their boards up.
And just the idea of having sort of signal boxes or signal towers, I guess if we're using US parlance, and being able to throw the rods for the signals and control different switches, that could become really cool really fast.
I'm getting a ping here that manual signals and train order boards are going to be coming from the game where we're calling correctly. Because they were a thing on the narrow gauge. The Boston Revere and I forget the B and
Lynn
SL.
Beach.
Boston Revere and Glen Beach, is that it?
Lynn
they had Lynn Beach? Yeah. Lynn Beach, that sounds right.
Because they were some of their stuff went to the good old EBT.
I think that's right. B and BL. Or
Boston Revere Beach and Lynn. There we go.
Boston Revere Beach and Lynn. There we go. Yep. So they were kind of a hot commuter railroad. So they had signals out of their station. So, they'll be coming to the game, and I'm looking forward to being able to experiment with how to incorporate those and what the different types of signals mean and all that jazz. No one saw that. No one saw that. We're good.
No, I didn't even have the right window up, so even I didn't see that.
Good.
Even though now I wish I had.
No,
Oh,
you,
it's
you,
pretty
you
bright.
didn't. We almost had a teachable moment.
Oh. What? The teachable moment of don't get stuck in the firebox.
No. Teachable moment of remember to check your handbrakes before going up a 4% grade.
Oh, well, that's a valuable one too.
And that's right, we are going up 4% grade. Shortly. As we come up to the double bridges. Over yonder-ish.
Have we live streamed this before? I don't recall if we have.
We-
Going up to the
We
Iron
have, we stalled.
Oh, that's right, yes.
I was bad at math.
I
and
had a
we
teachable
planned-
moment
Yes.
with how to look at the underside of the engine with the Stevenson
I
valve
think that
gear,
made the
right.
trailer.
It did make the trailer. That's right. Yes. Now I'm remembering that. That was like a third or something like that.
It was a pretty early one.
But you can see we've improved. There will be no such demonstration of that nature today, and we are making it up to the 4% grade.
We're only on like the 2.5% right now.
Yes, but we will make up the 4%. Because
Oh, yeah,
as we all know, this railroad is powered by optimism.
Fact.
The optimism that no grade is too steep, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no
That valley's
river
pretty
wide
low.
enough.
That river ain't
no.
wide.
No,
It is not a
that's
wide
pretty
river.
narrow river. So yes. Case in point, there isn't a river wide enough because
No.
that one is pretty narrow.
No, it is like the gauge of our tracks.
Yes.
Thank you, folks. I will be here all week.
Mm-hmm. And we are glad that you are here with us here on Railroaders Play Railroads Online, where you get to learn about real railroading from real railroaders. I'm not the real railroader. She is, and some of our crew are. But
Which it is a
I-
busy night, so actually all the crews in like their own dedicated crew channels tonight, switching and operating on their lines. It's quite a jam-packed night here. Usually we don't have this much switching, we're more point to point, but I like to see it.
And we like to see you guys here too. So thank you for tuning in and following us on Twitch. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, you might as well do that as well. Access through the link tree, but by subscribing on YouTube, then you can get access to the replays. Well, access. You can see the replays, get notified when they're available.
Sorry, just got a message, dispatching message. I was totally gonna say something, but like, yeah, this is what short line railroading is like. Once you get out of the yards and get onto the line, you're kind of on your own. There's no one else out there but you and your crew. And you're looking at your timetable, you're looking at your rule book to make sure you're getting to where you need to be, you're checking Form Ds, your train orders, and you're watching all that stuff. So, I mean, this is a good representation, even though we're all broken out into our own little group chat tonight. This is how it works. Once you get out there on your line, you're alone. I see you're also taking in the views.
That would be correct, because they are very nice.
Is there a handbrake on your tender, maybe?
I think so. Nope, there is not.
Your fire's still lit?
It is, for once. It is.
I'm just gonna walk back.
I'm really happy that it is too.
Although we may be running into like that weird physics calculation where after a certain number of people get on, everything slows down a bit still.
Could be with the amount of people we have on tonight. But we will make it. We're still moving forward.
I think we're
Have we hit
near.
the 4%?
We're once we come off that second bridge, we're off it.
Okay. So, there you have it. If we can make it this far, we can go the
Yeah.
distance.
I can go the distance.
I
I'll be
was,
there someday.
I was wondering if that would go acknowledged.
Oh God, how could you not recognize a Hercules tune?
I did not grow up with Disney films. Most Disney films. I did not see The Lion King until I was about 20.
That's sacrilegious.
That's what my wife said. She made a point to fix that. There's still a number of ones I haven't seen too. She also introduced me to Mulan.
Oh, Mulan's
That's
amazing.
a favorite of hers. Yeah, I enjoyed it. But I've never seen Snow White.
Is that, are you filming up on the mountainside?
Yep, that is me. And by filming, that's also me getting back on the train because I may have
Did you
slipped
fall
off
off
the bridge
fall
when I
off the
was
bridge?
taking. Yeah. Better me than the train, though.
This is true. And look at that, we made it off the 4%. Nice train at tonnage, narrow gauge railroading stuff. Slogging up the hill. This is what I love about this. This is why I wanted to use this game as a teachable thing. We can slog up the hill like that.
This game excels at many things, but I think chief among them is just capturing the atmosphere of this era of railroading.
I think it's cool. It's nothing shy of cool.
How are you guys enjoying playing Railroads Online if you play Railroads Online? Join us in the chat and let us know what your opinions are and what you're enjoying most about the game.
Yeah, let us know, like, how do you play with people? Are you mostly solo?
I'm enjoying seeing other trains go by, but I must confess that at this point that isn't my favorite thing because of the fact that it's a jittery experience at the moment. I think that'll change. Well, obviously it'll change with the update, but it may become my favorite thing with the update. Right now, my favorite thing is just being a part of the AM&W crew because it's nifty to be on this railroad where every time I come, the trains aren't in the same place because people are doing work. Freight's getting moved, so it really feels like being part of a living railroad, and that it's not always going back. I left that train there, and that train was there.
That's what I love about
the fact that it feels living.
That's what I love about hopping onto my friend servers. Is it's always like I always feel like I'm pumping it at a new point in time. It makes everything feel living, which is nice. It feels railroady that way. And isn't that why we do this?
Mm-hmm. And it's a team effort. The fact that there are these servers, I've never seen anything quite like this in train simulation because most of the sims that have come before this have been based around single player experience, but this has really tapped into something where now we're seeing all these different servers crop up in all these different railroads, and I think the way in which it captures that feeling of teamwork, that railroad is a team effort, is so key.
And I look forward to seeing more of that stuff built into the game as it grows. I look forward to seeing, train order semaphores show up, so that way you can pick up a train order in the game on the fly. You can have someone dispatching and typing up Form 19s and sending them out to different telegraph offices around the railroad with train order semaphores. And as you go by, you see the train order board is up for you, and you need to stop and pick up your orders. And you have it in like a little hotbar down at the bottom of the screen. Like, I look forward to seeing that in game, and it starts feeling railroady. And we're hoping that talking about these types of things early, once they show up in game, if they show up in game, if you decide to make them show up in your game through the use of Discord like we do, it becomes integrated into your roleplay, so to speak. Or you just gain a better understanding of how railroads work as you're out rail fanning, taking photos, hanging out in the local yard, to railroad museum, what have you.
A lot of different points to take away.
And we are finally coming off the grade here. Oh, thank God.
Hoorah. I'm bringing you up to the iron ore mine. Does this have a name other than the iron ore mine, or is it just
It
the
doesn't
iron
have
ore
a
mine?
weird name, no.
Okay. That's okay, not everything needs a weird name.
No. So if you do like weird names, check out our map, not the interactive map, the map with the names on it. There are weird names on there.
Each with a history.
Alright, I'm going to pull my pin and cut away and run ahead into the hole ahead of you.
Okay, I'll slow down a bit. I've cut my throttle back to 50.
Alright, I should have re-engineered this bridge a while ago, but it's just so cool.
This S-curve.
Yeah, it's not realistic in the least bit, but it looks cool, and I think that counts for something.
I would agree.
I forgot we still have you seen the station platform up here that we were demoing one night?
No, I haven't.
We were trying out different methods of building station platforms, and we were doing it up here. So there's a random passenger platform up here. Not that we're expecting passenger trains up here at the iron ore mine anytime soon, but we have the option now. It's also not connected to any rail, so not so much of an option.
Oh well.
Alright, you are lined in to the iron ore mine. Bring you down to a stop. And center up that reverser.
Thank you. And we don't have any hoppers. We're just unloading. So
Nope, we're
I'll
unloading,
just
turning and burning. Check in with the plateau crew before we get out of here to make sure they're not coming uphill with train 200.
Wait. Because this is train number 300, which means this is Sparta.
Oh man.
I was ready to do that. As soon as I found out we were crewing train 300, I'm like, I'm going to do that at some point. I'm going to do that thing.
How long have you been keeping that one in your back pocket?
Almost 2 hours. I was patient. I was playing the long game on that one.
You held it in until the last possible minute. Because, if you're reading along with our rulebook at home, glancing through it, once we've arrived at our terminus station, and station does not have to be the passenger station as you would be accustomed to with passenger timetables. Station is a designated location on the railroad that is called a station, so it could literally be an industry. It could be a switch, can be a station. So, since we have arrived at our terminus, we are no longer train 300. We're just floating there in midair until we turn around and get ready, and then we become train 301. It's weird how that stuff works out. You stop being a train until you become the
Train.
next train.
That's not a train. Do you need me to slow down, or is this a good pace?
I'm not unloading.
Oh, you're not?
No, I'm not even getting the unloading arrow.
Oh. Let me see if I can do that, and then we might switch places.
Oh, it's the wrong platform. That's why.
Oh, yeah, I was like...
That's why. Alright, well, you wanna unload and I'll run?
Yeah. Right now, we seem to be at a good clip anyway. Might need to slow down a little bit for that moment where we're gonna have both beams and logs, or beams and boards.
Yeah, I'm pinching her down a little bit more.
That's perfect right there.
Radio chatter gets pretty informal once you've worked with a crew long enough. And once you've established all the formal stuff, train 300, conductor 2, engineer, yada yada yada, all that stuff.
I will say that the formal is fun,
It is.
especially as an outsider, because it gives you something to make you feel official, especially if you're running, say, kind of the model railroad stuff. I think the more formal you do model railroad, the better, because if it gets too informal, then it just really loses any sense of the illusion.
No, I agree. And but, you know, we do have pretty informal radio chatter. We could probably be a little bit better about being a little more official with it. My biggest pet peeve is crews not calling out their engine number when they're switching. So you can have two crews working at the same time and going like, hey, back up, pull ahead, 3 cars, 4 cars, 6 cars, stop, ahead, 2 cars, back up, 4, and like, that's a lot. But if you call out an engine number first, then 2 crews can work at the same time and you know who's talking to 2. 31 back up 3. Okay, 12 ahead 4. Not for me, got it. So that's a little bit in there. And you always throw in a burner word at the start of your transmission, just in case you don't hit the mic right away. It catches something. So it's, you know, you'd be like, AMW 31, ahead 2 cars, and stuff like that. So like a burner word is really helpful for making sure you don't cut yourself off by accident, where the hogger doesn't miss important info. Alright, I'll shove this thing back a little bit and get her into the clear. You want to kick the caboose down to me?
Sure. I'll hop on counterpart. 33, aka checks notes. Odin.
Hey, we have Odin and Frigga.
Is it Frigg or Frigga? Because there's no A on the
I
end.
think it's a dialect thing. I think it ends up being. I think it's Frigga.
Yeah, I thought it was with an A.
Freya and Frigg are technically 2 different people, and then Marvel Comics made them one character with the name spelled differently. So yeah, Norse mythology, like all mythology, ends up getting a little bit gray.
Yes, good luck explaining Norse mythology now that the Marvel Cinematic Universe exists.
Oh, impossible.
So isn't Loki the good guy, and isn't he handsome?
Depends.
Except when he's not the good guy.
And when he's not handsome.
Yes. Caveats.
Oh, yeah.
Tying the Marvel Cinematic Universe back to railroading. In the first Avengers movie, there's a cameo by a Norfolk Southern freight train that is trying to masquerade as some sort of Russian train.
Is that scene supposed to take place in Russia?
And
Not
yet
the
you
first time
clearly
we've talked about railroads in movies in a lesson plan.
No, it is not. Nor will it probably be the last. But I just always found that it was amusing that somewhere in Russia, American horn as American diesel passes.
I love it.
All right, I've got the caboose.
Okay, I got the switch on the track closest to the empty cut of cars.
Okay.
Lined for it to come down.
Right. And I'm tugging the caboose back with me. Now, here's a trivia question for parties. When was timetable and train order first, and I'm asking this because I actually don't know the answer, when was it first implemented?
I don't know. But I can probably ping someone who would. And get us an answer. Or maybe someone at home knows. Does anyone at home know the answer to that? There's gotta be someone in chat who's versed on their railroad history like we are.
Pop quiz time, students.
It's true, we have not had a pop quiz in a while.
That's true. No using your notebooks or Google. Maybe you can use Google if you want. Because, admittedly, we don't know either. Okay, and then we are kicking caboose into track. Next to cars. And at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. I'm the Chris Pratt meme. My caboose is derailed, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. So if it doesn't roll properly, we'll know. Ooh, it's leaning on very heavily for a caboose that's supposedly on the rails, but we'll see. Can you see my caboose?
Not from the position I was standing in.
Okay.
So I am running around the yard to look for it.
It is definitely not.
I just watched it roll down the mountain. Oh, nope, not down the mountain.
No, it didn't roll down the mountain. It buried itself in the ground. That was weird, though. I have no idea why it did that. Okay, well, so we did not see anything. Moving on. Moving forward. Literally moving in a forward direction. The car is being kicked.
And I am on board that car.
Okay. Then you are going away. Away into the future.
Woo!
Do you want me to take this back, or are we gonna need it for anything else?
You can take it back. I'm gonna get this tacked on, run around, probably talk about how you become a different train and the rulebook for a bit, and then follow you down. And it looks like the smelter job's running behind because they lost some flat cars, so I don't think we're gonna make our waybill for a pickup. Oh, you already had those lights set up for me. I just reversed them back the other way.
I didn't have them set up. I must have just re-railed the car the other way around.
Shh, shh, shh. You set up the lights for me, and I just put them back the wrong way.
Well, since it was all accidental, I don't take offense. You're gonna need to go AFK again, but I will be back in a moment.
Yeah. So once we get our engine tied back on here, we're not gonna turn it. We're gonna run back down tender first. Yeah, cause the turntables are terrible, but also like running tender first was a thing. Not super prevalent, but where there's not options to turn around, you run tender first. So we're gonna do that. Let our caboose roll by, and this is a thing called kicking a car. Thinking of it like kicking a soccer ball. You've taken it and you've punted it down to the other end of the field, and that's what we just did here. For a little kick, let her roll back into the train. Say train, this is technically a cut of cars right now, because it doesn't have a marker, it also doesn't have motive power. You become a train once you've tied on at your terminal and markers have been established, and you've been given your permission to move. So technically this is just a cut of cars. Plus we don't have permission to move, but we do have markers. We also don't have an engine tied onto the head end. So, not a train. Cut of cars at a terminal. Will become a train once I've tied onto the head end. And yeah, little train handling things here and there, because that has to do with train movements. You want to be gentle with your trains. You don't want to jerk them around. Easy on the throttle movements. Nice and smooth on the braking. Keep everything contained. Smooth, gentle. You don't want to be too hard on the equipment. You see, I've gotten us rolling, so I've just eased back to maintain what I'm doing. That's the name of the game. You get it moving, then you keep it moving. So you don't need all that power once you've started moving, because you've already overcome the inertia. And the inertia to stay still. So, get it moving, keep it moving. Oh my god, I hear Squiggy and them whistling for the grade crossing at Hellsetters on the other side of the mountain. Yeah. It's Hellsetters, like right over there. Oh, that's cool. I've never experienced that before. This game constantly throws fun new things like that at me. New experiences, new places I haven't seen on the map. Coming down that track. And shut up the throttle. Close it all the way now. And just drift, or coast, through these couple of switches here. And coming ahead onto our train, or onto our cut of cars. Coming on, nice and gentle, taking little bites. Feel a donk. Oh. Well, that's not good. Not supposed to roll like that. Should have had another handbrake set there, but yeah. Probably should have done a safety stop before I came up to it. Did we do safety stops in the 1800s? I don't know. Was there a concept of safety in the 1800s? I don't think so. But that's just one girl's opinion. Let us know if something's going over your head out there. Let us know. Happy to stop, back up, and cover it again in different explanations, what have you. Want to keep things. We don't want to get over anyone's head. We want to keep it relevant to what you know. So let us know if we're getting ahead of ourselves a bit here. And we will slow down and re-explain in any way possible. I'm just gonna creep up to the throat of the yard here, and throat's just the group of switches that fan out at the start of the yard. So I'm just gonna creep on up to there and hold. And then I gotta write a thing called a train order so that way Nick can head down the hill. Cause Nick is now an extra train. Cause he is no longer attached to train 301, which is moi right here. That'll stop. Not worried. Not at all. 327 engine 33 at the iron ore mine. And this order isn't going to anyone else. Engine number 33 run extra of train 301. Alright, that's it. So, whatever. Train 419 is basically a blank sheet of paper. And on it, it's train order 01 dated 4/27/22 to C&E Engine 33 at the iron ore mine. That's our current location. That's where they're picking up those orders. The order they have is Engine 33 run extra ahead of Train 301 to Plateau Yard. And made complete. That means that they are allowed to depart as soon as they get this. 9:31 p.m. by me. So as soon as Nick gets back and reads the train order, Extra 33 has permission to depart. And I'll post this up on our Discord. Whoops. And we're calling you train order 01. And I'll let the engineer know and conductor know there's a train order. And I hear Extra 33 departing. Hi, Extra 33.
Hi, I am back
Alright,
again.
cool. I just was explaining train orders and how you write one as I wrote up your train order for you.
Well, thank you. Most appreciated. On both fronts. Train orders are fun.
They are. Hopefully
And
once
they're
we
fun.
get the spline update, I can spend a night just dispatching and talking about train orders and planning all of those moves. Because it can get pretty fun pretty quickly. Just in terms of managing a railroad without seeing anything. Because I have the beauty of seeing it.
Yeah. But it is an interesting challenge when you don't see it right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite layouts to dispatch model railroad had a fully functional CTC panel
Ooh.
in a separate room from the layout. So you'd look around and you felt like you were in an office. Because you kind of
Nice.
were. The only bit of the layout you saw was a little bit of a double track main looping through a corner of the room, which was kind of nice because then you'd occasionally see a glimpse of something moving. But for the most part, you couldn't see the crews, you could see what was going on, which usually meant that I would see somebody overrun a train authority, and then I would hear lots of noises from the other room and then patiently call them over the radio because we used radio headsets for that too. So that was
Ooh.
part of what made that nifty. It was a Bessemer layout. I actually did a video of it on YouTube. I interviewed the guy who made it, and you can see the videos as a whole. But yeah, to me, if I'm dispatching, I want the illusion that I'm doing it for real.
Mm-hmm.
And so that one was super. His panel was a work of art. Like it looked like a Union switch and signal.
Oh wow.
Panel. Allegedly, he brought a real Bessemer and Lake Erie dispatcher into his basement, and guy sees the panel. He says, "How did you get that panel out of the Greenville Railroad Museum?" Because it was so convincing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And it was very, very nice. He's moved, so the old layout no longer exists, but he's still modeling the Bessemer, and he still has the panel. So
Nice.
yeah. So the moral of the story: if you can build a Union switch and signals panel in your house, you totally should. Food for thought.
I'll keep that in mind when redoing my place next.
Yes.
Yeah, dispatching can get. Hey, what's going on, Squiggy?
Hello. Just wanted to let y'all know that I'm hopping off for the night.
Have a good night.
Thank
Good
you
night.
for touring with us, Squiggy.
Yeah. Catch you on the next one.
Absolutely.
King Brenda, the video that I was referring to is if you search railroad in a basement, Bessemer and Lake Erie.
And that would be
You'll
on
see-
your personal YouTube, correct?
It would be on the Nick Ozorak YouTube channel. That's Ozorak. But if you just do a general search for it, you should find it that way,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see it there.
I forgot
he-
to put you in the link tree as a source there. So you will not find it through our link tree, unfortunately. I gotta, that's on the proverbial to-do list. It's been a busy week. Oh, good, you found it.
Excellent. But yeah, so I interviewed the guy who built the layout, guy by the name of Ed Cronin, and I tried to do it from an approach of like just that was a college video, so I made it kind of balancing it between general audience and rail fan. So he talks about the philosophy of like he talks about the gaming element and of moving trains, and his thought behind the design. Super cool. I love that thing.
I approach my dispatching from the perspective of a engineer. In that I've never dispatched in real life, but I've been dispatched a lot. And that's how I approach it in game, is how I wish the dispatchers would talk with crews, because sometimes they can not really get it, because they're not out there on the rails. So that's how dispatching the AM and W tends to go. But you know, I've had cool days on the railroad where we've got the freight train out at the same time as the passenger train, and we're getting train orders to schedule our meets because the freight train's an extra. So we're hooping up orders on the fly, letting us know, hey, we gotta stop here, hold here for freight train to come in. Freight train's holding here for you to pass. Been out on MOW running ahead of passenger trains and following passenger trains, which is a cool thing in of itself, because under standard code you can dispatch out a speeder to follow a passenger train. As long as they're within 10 minutes of that passenger train. So that means they can't fall more than 10 minutes behind that passenger train. So they're looking at the clock and going like, okay, they were supposed to pass Port Reading at 10 o'clock. I can pass Port Reading at 10:10 at the absolute latest. So you're looking at your watch to make sure that you're within 10 minutes of them. But all you need to do to send a speeder out following a train is the conductor needs to know and the engineer needs to know of that train. No one else. The dispatcher doesn't need to know. So it gets you can do cool stuff like that with standard code and dispatching.
I think I approach it more from the mindset of like playing chess. Like dispatching Ed's layout, I'm looking at a board, I'm seeing two red dots approaching each other. And a lot of his traffic was point to point, because the Bessemer and Lake Erie, for those unfamiliar with it, an iron ore coal hauling railroad, about 120 miles, now part of Canadian National. But I'm looking at two red dots, they're heading towards each other, and I'm trying to figure out which one I think is going to arrive at a point sooner than the other, because I want to keep them both moving as much as possible. And it's single track it's single track with passing sidings, such as you're watching along tonight. So I'm trying to guess which one's going to get to the point first and choose a meeting point where whichever one stops will have the least amount of time to wait there before the other one that goes around it.
And we've definitely had moments like that on stream where I'm writing train orders trying to guess when a train is going to get there before another train. And you know, this time period with anything standard code, you didn't have a CTC machine. You had operators along the railroad relaying information back about passing times to the dispatcher. So you didn't know where anything, you didn't actually know where anything was, because it was just the time written down in a book. so you didn't know where they were until you had the next time sent to you. So I think dispatching under that it's more fun because you're not looking at anything. You're looking at a map on a board, but that's it. You're kind of guessworking it from there. And there's a great book that we've talked about doing the recommended book list for a while. I think we should probably hunker down and write one. But Set Up Running. Great railroader book. Stories of a Pennsylvania railroad engineman, where dispatchers trusted him enough to put him out as an extra train ahead of a scheduled passenger train, and trust that he can run faster and get further along and get into the hole before the passenger train shows up on its scheduled time. And like that blows my mind from a dispatching perspective, of knowing a crew that well that you can just be like, go, you're ahead of the express, so go and get into the hole quick. And that's it. I think that's fun. That's cool. And I love being able to emulate those kinds of scenarios when they do show up, because you can't fabricate that. I could try and fake doing that to show you guys how to do it, but you just can't. Like, you can't get... It's a niche, or it's a rare scenario to come across.
Yes. I think that's a good way to put it. It's very analog.
Mm-hmm. I always think this is the bottom of the hill, and then I kick my brake off, and then I start accelerating. And it's not the bottom of the hill. I should know that, because there's still a stone wall next to me.
You should call it the fake out point.
Alright, time to update the map.
Fake out point. Where you think you're at the bottom, just when you think you've hit rock bottom.
Oh, please, no hitting rocks here. See, like now I'm coming back up along the level, so now I can kick my brake off.
So, Casey, you know how you were saying earlier that switches should be normalized after movement?
Yeah.
I am disappointed to report that one switch was not normalized after movement on the south end of this yard at Plateau.
No, because we were the next train through, so it was in a bulletin order. Did you not see that?
Oh, no. Well, it's all good. I didn't derail or anything catastrophic. But...
Yeah, no, the switch got left for the iron ore mine because we're the next train through that switch.
No. I'm not talking about the iron ore mine lead switch. I mean the south end of Plateau Yard.
Oh.
Where it crosses from the main to loan siding on the south end.
Oh.
Before the engine house lead. That was not normalized.
Oh.
No, iron ore mine lead was set for us.
Well, we're gonna go into the hole here because we have cars to pick up, and the operator down at the smelter has just notified me that the smelter turn has departed for Plateau. So we're gonna sit in the hole and wait for them to come up, so we can grab our pickups for the trip back. And what are our pickups, you may ask? That is a very good question.
Then I'll ask it. What are our pickups?
We're picking up the empty cordwood cars.
Oh. There we go.
And we run with Waybill, or kind of a pseudo Waybill. Real Waybills are very different than how we use them. What we call Waybills are more of a switch list. And it's a list of what cars you're picking up and setting out at what locations as you're running as whatever train you are, train 300, train 301, yada yada yada. So we call it a waybill. Not really a waybill. It's really a switch list. A waybill will give you car number, what it's loaded with, where it's coming from, where it's going to, who owns it, reporting marks.
I timed that perfectly. Got my engine put away, and it's at 0% fuel.
Oh, that's perfect. And that's how you want to bring in a steam engine.
Let me see if I can run to the north end and get you lined for the long runner.
Yep, we're gonna Plateau Yardmasters letting me know we're gonna drop our caboose on one of the run-through tracks and go wait up out of the way, and they'll just shove the cordwood cars up onto us and then get out of our way.
We're not gonna need the caboose after that, though.
No, they're gonna tack the caboose. They're gonna tack the cordwood onto the caboose, and then we just come back down with our flats and tack on and get out of
Got
there.
it.
Yeah.
I got your switches there. Oh, you got the wrong switch. Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Oh, yeah, no. I did not see you getting the switches, so I grabbed that one right in front of me.
That's okay. I'll ungrab the switches I grabbed. King Brenda, you saw the video, thought it was cool. Glad that you enjoyed it. Yeah, that layout's really nifty. I've actually, tying back to my other work on what makes this layout great, I've built that layout in Train Z. So eventually, it will be available for download, and then you too can run trains on the Bessemer Lake Erie.
Nick, line me into the long siding. Not going into a passing track.
Oh, I thought you were going into it with a caboose. Never
Yeah,
mind.
no, I just got sent a picture on Discord of the way that train's set up, and curious as to how we're gonna do this. Oh, I know how we're gonna do this. Okay. All right, we're gonna drop. Nope. We're gonna drop our caboose on the main. We're gonna back down on top of the cordwood cars with the flats, and then back up, and then back down on top of our caboose. I know how we're doing this. Okay.
We're leaving the caboose on the main?
On the long runner. We're gonna leave the caboose on the long siding.
Okay.
We're going to come back down with. We're gonna cut away. We're gonna cut away from the caboose. Go run up along the pocket track. The cordwood, the smelter turn's gonna shove up in with the wrought iron cars into a siding. And then we're going to shove down on top of the cordwood cars that are behind the power. Power's in the middle, and there's cars on either end.
Got it.
And I see a mogul in the way of me. So I can't go very far. Or is that a class 70? I can't tell from this far out.
It's a class 70. Isn't it in the siding?
No, it's on the long runner.
I'll go and grab that if need be.
You just want to run that up.
Do you need me to get this switch here?
No.
And cross this over to main? Okay.
Oh, that's someone's mogul running into the siding, into the pocket track.
Oh, so it is, yes.
Alright, so I'm gonna stop this here. Plus, I see them coming up the hill. You know, fun thing about that switch at the north end of the yard, at the very end of the long runner, normal for that is line 4, the iron ore mine.
Huh. I guess that makes sense.
Most of the time we're coming in on this track for the iron ore mine and picking up.
So, I am pleased to note that this run is being done with the climax. That is the correct choice. That is
Where's
all.
the rest of the train? I have so many questions. I was sent a picture of a climax in a Class 70. Oh, nope, I see the Class 70 coming up behind it. Okay. So many questions. Never enough answers.
Tune in next week, folks, to find out the behind the scenes conversations that took place that resulted in two separate train movements. But thank you for tuning in now, and hope that you're enjoying your time here on Railroaders Play
Got it.
Railroad Online on the Virtual Railroad Academy.
Oh, nope, wrong switch, wrong switch, wrong switch. I need that guy. And that guy. And if I jump twice, hopefully the engineer understands that means highball.
Yeah, that's true. Without a lantern, jump once for yes, twice for no.
Got the highball. Near 22.
King Brenda, did the guy who owned the layout in the video end up selling the house? Yes. That's why he had to tear it down. He was hoping to salvage a lot of it, but it was so base specific that most of it did not get salvaged. His new layout, he's still doing Bessemer, and it's interesting because the new one has more of an emphasis on yards, where the old one had more of an emphasis on running in between. Same railroad, but different approach. Moral of the story: if you know a model railroader in your area and you're house buying, you should make it clear to them that maybe you'd buy their house complete with a layout. It may not be what you thought you'd want to model, but hey, it's a layout ready to go. And that's the kind of model railroader I am, honestly. If I could just walk into a house and be like, there's my layout, it almost doesn't matter what it was. Yeah, I don't know if I'd keep it if it was Markland. But just about anything that was like prototypical and allowed for operation,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd be flexible. If I didn't have to actually build it. I'm an ops guy, not a build it guy. I build it because I want to play with it. What kind of model railroader are you? If you are a model railroader, please join us in the chat here on Twitch, or if you're watching this on replay, do leave your comments on Twitch or YouTube. Curious to know how folks get their jollies with trains and railroading.
Alright, why am I sluggish? Did I let my fire go out?
Did you
No,
pull
but
that Casey?
No, but I pulled a Rudy.
A tender break.
No, not that.
Oh, that kind of Rudy. Oh,
Yeah,
right.
I forgot to switch. Oh boy, we're all over the place here.
I'll get the engine. Were you just put? Oh yeah, we were gonna hook up to these pulp cars.
Yeah, so you wanna put it up there, and I'll
Yep. It is up there.
next week's guest will has a reputation for derailing, so it should be fun. You wanna? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, no, that works. So as you're backing out with those pulpwood cars, we'll just pin back into the tender.
Perfect. Pins in?
All right.
No, I was asking. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. And back we go. Tank engine style. Oh, it'll be so great when we have a tank engine in this game too.
Yes, it will be. Sorry, dispatching.
All good. So, while you're working on your dispatching, I will remind folks of the wonderful, rich history of this area. Plateau Yard, this region first surveyed by the French surveyor Henri Plateau. Monsieur Plateau, very well traveled, came across this area. Noted for the waterfall that had been discovered by the Native Americans, or not discovered, but they set up encampment near here, and obviously with the terrain being so friendly to habitation. So Monsieur Plateau set up La Vie des Plateaux, but that eventually just got simplified to Plateau.
And the local sports team are the Platypuses, is that correct?
Yes, the Plateau Platypuses, or Platypi, is the local sports team. Good to continue bringing back.
Yeah, you're good for 7 cars. Four more.
Mhm.
2 more. 1. Half a truck length. Anywhere in there is good. Shove them on up. 8 cars. And we are shoving forwards, even though we're pushing cars, because the front of the engine always means forwards, the back of the engine always means back. That is an important thing for train movements. Keeps it clear and delineated so that way you can always tell which way you're going and it's easy to communicate those back and forth.
If you
6 cars to go.
if you look at a diesel locomotive and you notice that it has an F on one end and an R on the other, that is denoting the front and the rear of said engine.
1 more car. Half a car. Truck. 2 feet. Come on, 2 feet. And pin is in. Alright. We'll probably need to get our switch at the south end of the yard getting out of here, but we are cleared it apart. I'll run ahead of you and try and grab that switch.
Okie doke. They giving you enough of a head start?
Oh yeah, you're fine. Alright, switch is line 301. Let's get out of here.
Alrighty. Lots of empties for Hill Valley.
Right?
Oh, poor Thor got buried in the schmelty equipment roster. Makes me wonder if they're trying to pilfer him from the
Steal
the
him.
fleet.
They're trying to
Yeah.
steal. You need the SCH in there.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just noticing that the Climax and the Class 70 are in positions in front of Thor.
I think they got a little bit more switching to do.
That could be. I recognize it's a Thor subject.
Oh, God.
Thank you!
Oh, man, that was truly horrible. Just not good.
I'd like to think that it was that inspiration struck me with a hammer.
Yeah, got caught dispatching and forgot to get the switch. I am running to catch up to the train. Running to catch up to the train.
You can slow down if you need me to.
No, I'm there. Alright,
Sorry.
I'm back on board. One switch used, one switch lined and locked normal.
Copy that.
So I found a problem with my keybinds for Streamlabs in that every time I type a train number, it changes what the source is going to be. So if I hit the wrong button, I could accidentally like send us to black.
Oh. And you're describing all these wonderful techniques. And if you look over here, you'll see how this train moving in this direction, and people will be going, unless this is a Norfolk Southern train moving through the middle of the night, I can't see anything.
Yes, exactly.
A Norfolk Southern coal drag, to be specific.
Oh god, I'm stuck in a car. Alright. Well, we are approaching. We're on our way back to Hill Valley, so we're getting slowly ready to wrap up around here. But I did want to go over some whistle signals, since we were using them a lot and started to explain them, but we kind of got a little lost on them. I'm gonna jump on up to the engine here. Pull open my rulebook. Plus, you don't have the rules memorized. The important part about the rulebook is you know where to find what you're looking for. So we said before, we've got one long. When we're stopped, that means apply handbrakes. When we have just stopped, that means brakes applied, we're stopped. On my railroad, long means departing, means proceeding ahead. When stopped, 3 short means back up. When we're moving, when we're moving, 3 short means means we're asking the conductor if we're stopping at the next station, and the conductor would respond yes. And that would lead us into 2 short, which is acknowledge. Everyone with us so far? And we heard this one earlier while we were switching in Hill Valley. 4 shorts means, hey, Shaq, give me a signal here, tell me what to do. It means the engineer's waiting for a signal from the conductor and they're not getting it. You've heard this one a couple times tonight. Long, short, we blow that when we're approaching stations, junctions, or yard limits. So coming into Plateau Yard, you may have heard the faint whistling of Nick letting us know that he's coming into the Plateau Yard limits. That's what that meant. When train 400 was departing Hill Valley and we were the yard job sitting there on the main, we heard this long, long, short. That's the approaching for a meat whistle. And then there's naturally long, long, short, long, your standard grade crossing whistle, the letter Q in Morse code, in case you're wondering. Approaching MOW, 5 shorts, and that's kind of it. Those are the signals we use on this railroad. Every railroad had their own whistle signals, but they were all some kind of variation of those.
Pop quiz. Why the letter Q?
I actually don't know the answer to this one.
I know what I've been told is the answer to this, which makes sense. But let's see if those of you playing along at home can guess the answer to this.
No? No one?
Not seeing any responses. So, the answer is Q for Queen. Allegedly, because in the days of ye old telegraph, if you wanted to denote that something involving the Queen was happening, said the letter Q. I do say allegedly. This could be proven false.
I am also being told that Q stands for quarantine, as in quarantine the crossing the train is coming through.
Could be. I will be back. I'm going AFK for one last time.
Alright. Well, we are here flying along the railroad. Hustling back to the yard, where we will soon tell you guys who our wonderful guest is next Friday, the 6th of May at, I believe we're streaming at 8 p.m. Eastern that day. So keep a lookout for that. We'll be announcing it on our Facebook. Probably get it announced in a couple of other places, definitely on Nick's Facebook. But keep an eye out for it. We will be publicizing that. And maybe we'll be doing a mini-sode next Wednesday, where we're just switching out Hill Valley Yard and talking about switching and drilling. Much more of a low-key night as we work the yard and get trains put together, block trains and the likes. So we may be doing a mini-sode that night. So keep an eye out on Facebook for that information. You can find us. Find the Facebook in our link tree. Make sure you follow us there for all announcements about when we're streaming, when we're not streaming, events coming up. Plus, we do plan on having events. Aside from having guests, we hope to do community nights at some point. And once this line update comes out, of course, like everyone's saying with Railroads Online, once this line update comes out, but community nights where we'll have 5 people who have been watching us enter for a drawing to come in and run the AM and W with us railroaders here, and be an engineer, be a conductor, be a brakeman. Come join us, come run the railroad, apply the stuff that you're learning to this. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be announcing all that stuff through Facebook. So be sure to follow us on there to find out more information and to stay up to date on everything. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. That was in the mode. Oh, long short. Just announced the station that we're coming through. Let's see if I can grab the whistle from here. And still look out. little bit of embellishment of the Q whistle, the long, long, short, long. But we all gotta have our own voice out there. So, train movements, topic of the night. A little bit of train handling stuff thrown in there. Slightly, a little bit of history of the AM and W. We hope you're enjoying it. It's that time review. Time for the lecture. We had different types of rulebooks, NORAC, G-Core, Standard Code, which is what we use here. I'm biased in Standard Code, so you hear me talk about it a lot. I think it's the best way of dispatching trains, especially on a short line. Talked a little bit about the Form 19, the train order, how that works, that you're writing it to a conductor and engineer, and it's a blank piece of paper. You're telling that conductor and engineer what to do. Or multiple conductor and engineers, thus you can address it to more than one person. We talked about the mythical thing of yard limits. That was just kind of a free-for-all under the control of our yard master. And we talked about how you can leave a yard limit, what a train is, aside from being a thing that rolls on wheels. Plus, in railroading, that's not a train. Remember, a train is a locomotive or locomotives with or without markers with authority to move on the main track. The main track being anything outside of yard limits. And you can have main tracks on branch lines, you can have main tracks on the proverbial main line. Make sure you have all that in your notes. There will be a pop quiz coming up. You can find it on our link tree. I'm kidding, not on our link tree. So that would be funny if you'll really enjoy us playing into this Academy theme after all. So we are doing a little bit of learning at your brains out there.
Learning at your brains.
Learning at your brains.
Playing with trains.
Just going through the recap. The study session.
Did we do the announcement?
We have not done the announcement. Do you want to announce it or should I announce it?
I feel like you should do the honor.
So if you stuck with us this long, we've been
Thank you.
teasing, and yes, thank you for that. Or if you're watching this on repeat and you skip to the end of the video, no thank you. But you'll have missed it because this episode comes out the Friday that our guest is going to be on, so you will have already missed that announcement. Friday the 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have a guest coming on, and it is at 8 p.m. because he does live on the West Coast. We have locomotive engineer and fireman for the Colorado Railroad Museum, Tice, coming on to talk about double heading and his experiences on the Croon Racing Tall-Tech with Rio Grande Southern 20 and the K27 they were double heading with. So that is going to be a fun time. We're excited, he's excited. It's going to be an absolute ball. We're going to be double heading up towards the coal mine and talking a lot about train handling and that kind of stuff. So do be sure to come and watch that one. It's going to be a fun one. I'm going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot. And it's just going to be an all-around good time. It is.
Yes. I can badger him about how soon we can get the E-Spot Top rolling stock in the game. It's going to be great. And he's going to be watching this and immediately go, okay, so much for that.
You think he watches it? I don't know. Maybe he is watching. Maybe he's watching with a burner account right now. We don't know. Nice, if you're watching with their burner account, please type in the chat and let us know.
Yes. But then somebody could be pretending, like, for all we know, King Brenda, who's a friend of pilots from Alaska, could, in fact, be hyped. This could all be an elaborate
This could be a ruse.
Yes. Heck, the person typing as Squiggy, who is part of our crew, might not be the actual Squiggy.
This is true.
These are the things we must consider with a paranoid mind. And now we're coming into the yard limits again.
And we're coming into yard limits, so I'm just going to let the train slow itself down. So that way we're not speeding into the yard. I'm going to run ahead and get switches for us. That way we have a place to come to.
BMAC says that BMAC might not be the actual BMAC.
Well, it is lowercase, so like that's believable.
Yeah. But I don't think that BMAC would draw attention to this.
No.
Piccadilly Lilies. finds that amusing. Well, we haven't heard anything from Piccadilly Lily until just now, so that is more suspicious than anything.
It is. Are
I'm
you
glad you could
Heist?
join us,
I'm
Piccadilly
kidding.
Lily.
Thanks for coming. But yes, Heist will be on next week with us. We're all very excited.
The heist.
The Heist. The Heistler, as he's called on the Discords. And we'll be announcing it on his Discord. Uh, maybe the official Discord it's going out on. I don't know. We're still working out those types of details. But definitely in his Discord it's going to be announced. So keep an eye out for that. Follow us on Facebook to make sure you get the correct information for when that's happening. It's going to be a great time. We're excited for it. Plus it's double heading and it's a fun railroader. Always that we're happy to get other railroaders in here to talk about their experiences. Because my experiences as a railroader are very different than BMAC's experiences as a railroader. That are very different than Squiggy's experience as a railroader, and so on.
And he'll be taking your questions too. We're as always taking questions. So.
But I did promise him no Railroads Online questions, so questions about railroading.
Which fits the theme of the show. So
It does. It does. There's only one Railroads Online question that will be asked, and I've already called dibs on it. And it's going to be a fun one.
Does he know that it's coming in if he said that he doesn't?
No, I said no. I said that we won't be bugging you with Railroads Online questions. Oh, you're not running. You're standing there. I'll go get on the engine.
I'm enjoying a sort of GoPro view on this flat car right now.
It's okay, I'll try power braking again and fail at it.
No, this is the week that you're going to succeed at this.
The only time I've succeeded at power braking was after a stream. Literally, right after a stream ended.
For that, actually. And one final reminder that the link tree is the way to find all of our social medias to make sure you keep plugged in, and that is going to be linktr.e/virtual railroaders academy, or railroader single. I always get mixed up on it. It's single or plural. It is singular.
We are the Virtual Railroader Academy, but we are railroaders who play Railroads Online. So I can see where you get confused, because I've definitely made that mistake in our own material.
Well, we're recognizing both the singularity and duplicity of it all.
Ooh, deep.
I had to get a little bit of philosophy. We didn't get. Last week we got really deep. This week, not quite as deep.
Though
so
we did kind of knock out all of our deepness yesterday in our other operating sessions.
That's true.
But we do have fun things planned. This was Train Movements 101. Next week is double heading. What is that course number? It's double heading 107 with guest lecturer Heiss. So come out for that.
Okay.
That's gonna be a good one. And I think I don't know if Nick's game, but I may do a mini stream on Wednesday still. Yard job, the workshop. So just while I'm switching out to stick with our usual Wednesday schedule as a mini-sode. So if you follow us on Facebook, you will get all of that information definitively. So do that. Source of all our knowledge. Oh, we've stopped, so I should probably whistle off here.
I couldn't tell. Did the power braking go successfully?
Sure. Everyone at home saw it happen successfully, right? Yes? You see, everyone agrees with me. Beautiful, perfect power. Did you even notice that we stopped?
Oh, I noticed we'd stopped. I just didn't notice if it was to your liking.
And I wasn't satisfied with it.
Oh, okay.
But
there's always next time.
There is. And on that note, This is the Virtual Railroader Academy. I'm Casey.
And I'm Nick.
Tonight was Train Movements 101.
We hope you found it to be a moving experience.
And thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.